For tens of thousands of years, early humans walked across the earth entirely barefoot. Their feet were broader, stronger, and covered in thick, calloused skin. Yet at some point in prehistoric time, our ancestors began wrapping raw animal hides around their feet. That simple choice altered human anatomy and expanded the boundaries of where humans could live. Without footwear, human migration into freezing northern climates would have been impossible. So why did it take humans so long to invent something that seems so obvious today? The answer lies in a story of extreme climate, rotting materials, and ancient engineering. Long before the first shoe was crafted, early hominins roamed warm savannas without any foot protection. Their feet featured wide toe splays that spread outwards to grip uneven ground. Thick pads of fat beneath the heel cushioned every heavy impact during long hunts. Natural calluses formed tough biological soles, capable of enduring sharp stones and thorns. For millions of years, this natural design was more than enough for human survival. Groups of hunter-gatherers tracked wild animals across rocky trails and grassy plains without difficulty. Their feet healed quickly from minor cuts and adjusted naturally to shifting landscapes. Everything changed when early human populations began migrating away from warm tropical environments. As groups moved northward into Ice Age Europe and Asia, they encountered severe new challenges. Freezing mud, jagged glacial ice, and sub-zero snow rendered bare feet dangerously vulnerable. Frostbite could blacken toes within hours and render a hunter completely immobile. In a wilderness where survival depended on mobility, an injured foot was a death sentence. The natural calluses that protected against warm rocks offered zero defense against extreme cold. Early humans faced a desperate choice between retreating south or finding a way to protect their feet. Hunters already knew that animal pelts kept their upper bodies warm during harsh winters. Someone eventually realized that the same protective fur could be wrapped around the lower limbs. Early humans took raw deer or bear hides and wrapped them loosely around their feet. They used strips of animal sinew or plant fiber to bind the loose leather tight. Inside the leather pouch, they stuffed dried grass and moss to create thermal insulation. This crude bundle trapped body heat and kept frozen mud away from bare skin. It was not yet a shoe, but it was the first artificial barrier between human skin and the frozen earth. Archaeologists have found subtle biological evidence of these early foot wrappings. Between 40,000 and 30,000 years ago, human toe bones began showing a distinct structural change. Fossilized foot skeletons revealed smaller, weaker toe bones compared to earlier prehistoric humans. This anatomical change suggests that early humans were relying on footwear rather than natural toe grip. Direct physical evidence of early shoes is exceptionally rare because organic materials decay quickly. However, remarkable preserved artifacts have survived in cold caves and dry environments. In a cave in Oregon, researchers discovered sandals woven from sagebrush bark dating back 10,000 years. These ancient sandals featured intricate woven patterns designed to shield soles from hot volcanic ash. In Armenia, archaeologists excavated a 5,500-year-old leather shoe known as the Areniwan shoe. Made from a single piece of cattle hide, it was carefully tailored to fit a human right foot. The interior was packed with grass, serving the exact same insulating purpose as modern thermal socks. These early leather wrappers solved the immediate danger of cold, but they had a major flaw. Raw animal hides are organic tissues that react terribly to water and bacteria. When wet hide dried in the sun, it became as stiff and brittle as a wooden board. When exposed to persistent rain and mud, the untanned leather began to rot rapidly. Foul bacteria decomposed the animal skins, causing the foot wrappings to fall apart within days. Prehistoric hunters had to constantly slaughter animals just to replace their decaying footwear. To make footwear truly practical, humans needed a way to make raw leather waterproof and rot-resistant. The solution to leather decay was one of the earliest chemical discoveries in human history. Early humans noticed that animal hides soaked in water containing tree bark did not rot. Tree bark contains natural organic compounds called tannins that bind to collagen proteins in skin. Tannins transform perishable animal hide into durable, flexible, and decay-resistant leather. Craftsmen learned to scrape flesh and fat from animal skins using stone scrapers. They soaked the cleaned hides in wooden vats filled with crushed oak or hemlock bark. After weeks of soaking, the leather emerged soft, strong, and impervious to bacterial rot. Tanned leather allowed ancient humans to produce footwear that could last for months of hard use, while northern cultures developed closed leather moccasins. Warm climate civilizations faced different problems. In places like ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, extreme ground heat could blister unprotected soles. However, enclosed leather shoes trapped sweat and caused severe fungal infections in desert climates. Civilizations along the Nile River solved this by inventing lightweight open sandals. Egyptian artisans harvested papyrus reeds and palm fronds from riverbanks. They dried the plant stalks, plaited them into tight flat mats, and shaped them to the foot. Straps made from woven fibers or thin leather strips held the sandal secure against the ankle. These open sandals protected the wearer from scorching sand while allowing air to cool the foot. Sandals quickly became a symbol of social status across the ancient Mediterranean world. Common laborers often walked barefoot, while pharaohs and priests wore highly decorated gold or woven sandals. As civilizations grew, organized warfare created a massive demand for standardized footwear. An army marching across rough terrain required durable boots that would not fall apart on campaign. The Roman Empire became one of the first civilizations to mass-produce military footwear. Roman cobblers created heavy-duty leather sandals known as caligae for legionary soldiers. Caligae featured thick, layered leather soles held together by dozens of hollow-headed iron hobnails. These iron studs acted like modern cleats, providing incredible traction on mud and wet grass. The iron hobnails also prevented the leather soles from wearing down during long military marches. A Roman legionary could march 20 miles a day across rough stone roads without destroying his boots. The sound of thousands of iron-studded boots marching together became a terrifying symbol of Roman power. During the Middle Ages, footwear shifted dramatically from practical protection to social display. Wealthy European nobles began wearing exaggerated leather shoes known as poulaines. Poulaines featured long, pointed toes that extended several inches beyond the wearer's actual feet. The length of the shoe point was strictly regulated by law according to social rank. Princes wore shoes with toes over 2 feet long, while commoners were restricted to short points. These extreme shoes were completely impractical for manual labor or running. That impracticality was precisely the point, proving that the wearer was wealthy enough not to work. Meanwhile, in 16th century Persia, horseback riders developed another revolutionary footwear feature. Persian cavalrymen added raised heels to their leather boots to help lock their feet into stirrups. When standing in stirrups, the heel prevented the rider foot from slipping forward during archer attacks. European aristocrats later adopted high heels as a fashionable symbol of military elegance and authority. Despite thousands of years of shoemaking experience, historical footwear suffered from a bizarre flaw. For centuries, shoes were crafted on straight wooden blocks called lasts that were completely symmetrical. This meant there was no structural difference between a left shoe and a right shoe. A buyer received 2 identical shoes and had to wear them until the leather slowly conformed to each foot. This process caused painful blisters, bunions, and permanent foot deformities for generations of wearers. Soldiers, during the American Civil War, still marched in stiff, unstandardized straight boots. It was not until the mid-19th century that shoemakers universally adopted shaped left and right lasts. The introduction of anatomically correct footwear immediately reduced foot injuries among industrial workers and soldiers. The Industrial Revolution transformed shoemaking from a slow handcraft into a massive, mechanized industry. Inventors created steam-powered stitching machines that could sew leather soles in seconds. However, traditional leather soles still struggled in wet conditions and wore down quickly on paved streets. In 1839, an American inventor named Charles Goodyear made an accidental breakthrough. Goodyear combined natural tree sap rubber with sulfur over a hot stove, creating vulcanized rubber. Vulcanized rubber was elastic, durable, waterproof, and completely unaffected by heat or cold. Shoemakers realized that rubber was the ideal material for water-resistant boot soles. By the late 19th century, factories were churning out millions of rubber-soled shoes and canvas sneakers. Footwear became affordable for every social class, completing its transition from rare luxury to universal necessity. Today, billions of people step into shoes every morning without giving them a second thought. Yet our modern shoes are the direct descendants of prehistoric hide wraps born of Ice Age survival. By shielding human feet, footwear allowed early tribes to cross frozen continents and populate the globe. It enabled armies to march across vast empires and workers to build modern industrial cities. However, this ancient shield has also permanently changed our physical biology. Modern humans have weaker arches and narrower toe splays compared to our barefoot prehistoric ancestors. We sacrificed natural biological foot strength in exchange for artificial environmental protection. The humble shoe stands as one of humanity's most successful and transformative inventions. It is a quiet shield that made the modern world possible, one step at a time.